The next thing I'd like to focus on with my nav bar, now that it's blue and it's a solid color, I would like to change the navigation text to be uppercase, and I'd like to change the way it's presented here on the page. Right now it's got this funny little drop shadow thing going on behind that text, which makes it hard to read. It worked when the background of this navigation bar was white, but now that it's blue, it looks a little bit odd. I also want to style this "You Are Here" indicator that you see here, this white box here on the home page. I'm going to start there. That little white box, the little rounded rectangle, is actually coming from something that we did in Joomla 3 Essential Training. We assigned a style of nav-pills. I don't really want that style there anymore. And you can see the style in action if you go to View Source here inside of your Web Developer toolbar. Scroll on down to the navigation part of the web page. And you'll see here we have a UL with a class of nav, a class of menu, and a class of nav-pills. And what I'd like to do is get rid of that class of nav-pills. That's actually really easy to do, and we did it through the Joomla backend. Let me remind you of where that was. So if you hop into the back end of Joomla here and you go to Extensions, Module Manager, and we're going to go to the English menu, I'm going to go to my advanced options and I'm going to get rid of this style here for nav-pills and say Save and Close. I'm going to repeat that process for the Italian menu and get rid of that and Save and Close. And now when I go back to the front end of the website and I refresh, that little pill rounded corner thing is gone, and I now have a different sort of "You Are Here" kind of marker. I like the shape better. It's still the wrong color, but the shape is better. Okay, so now let's worry about some of the styling that we have here. Part of the issue with changing styles where you're working with an enormous style sheet like Bootstrap is, what was the style that caused that drop shadow to appear? How do I find it? How do I change it? And fortunately, this is a great job for Firebug. So I am going to use Firebug to track down where that little drop shadow style is coming from. So to do that, I'm going to click on my Firebug icon up here at the top, and I can follow my HTML on down to where that link is selected. So if I roll my mouse over the body HTML tag over here on the side, you see that the whole area here is grayed out or blued out. As I've moved down a little bit further, here's the row that contains my navigation, the nav HTML tag, and I can keep on moving on down the page here. Eventually I get down to the UL that makes up that list. And then the second LI is the one that's responsible here for about. If I click on that, I'll get my styles over here on the right side of Firebug. So far I'm not seeing anything that would indicate some sort of drop shadowy sort of thing. So if I go to my next style here, the A tag, you'll see that I have a style here that has associated with this text shadow, and it's a white color. So that is where that item is coming from. I can confirm that simply by clicking on the little no symbol here inside of Firebug, and wow, look at that. Doesn't that look better? That is what I need to get rid of right there. So this indicates that the style is located on line 640 in the bootstrap.min.css file. That's the not human readable file. I'm working with just bootstrap.css. The easiest way to do this is just to highlight the style here and Control or Command C to copy it. And I'm going to hop here into the back end of Dreamweaver, and I'm going to Control or Command F to bring up my find box, paste in my style, my CSS declaration that I'm looking for, and then say Find Next. Here is the style that was referred to. Although it's not on line 640, it's on line 3548. That's a lot of looking if you're trying to track down a style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this style here, Control or Command C to copy, and over here in my custom CSS, somewhere around line 41, 42, this is just after the style for navbar inner, but before my styling for the drop-down menus. I'm going to add a little comment here, navbar text styling, and I'm going to paste my style in here. And there's my style. Now, a lot of this I'm not going to restyle at all. I'm going to keep the padding the same, the float the same, so I can just erase those out of here. And the text decoration is going to stay the same. But this text shadow, I'm going to set to a value of none. And if I say File Save, and I refresh the front end of the website, that looks better, but I'd like the text to be a little bit darker so it's not quite so smudgy with the blue there. So back here in Dreamweaver, I'm going to change this color from 5s to 333 and say save. So now when I refresh the front end of the website, my text is a little bit darker, but I've lost my hover state here. Before, we were at a text color of 555, and when I would roll my mouse over it, it would switch to 333. So I need to add an override for that hover as well. Back in my Bootstrap style sheet, in the actual bootstrap.css, not the next style, but the one right after it is the styling for a focus and a hover state of the link. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Control or Command C to copy. And back to the custom CSS, and I'm going to paste this, of course, after my style for the A. Remember that your hover state has to come at the very end. I'm going to keep the background color as transparent. I'm going to keep the text decoration as none, but the color I'm going to change. Let's see what happens if we make this white. So FFF as white. Go ahead and save that. Let's refresh the front end of the website. And now we have this darker text. When I roll my mouse over it, it turns white. So that's a pretty obvious marker of where I am. Okay, so then the last thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this text is uppercase, which is the way it's shown on our website. So I'm going to add one more style to my style sheet here. Actually, back all the way up at the top of the style sheet, just after the body tag, I'm going to add nav. Because everything inside of this nav tag I want to have uppercase. So text-transform uppercase. We'll save that, and I will refresh the front end of the website. And now I have nice uppercase text. When I roll over it, it turns white.